Pei Su had assisted Zhao Linghua and Qi Tianyun, showcasing exceptional talent during the military competition in 2026. Consequently, these two commanders facilitated the issuance of a permanent permit for Pei Su to access the underground military library of the Qian Shuesan Laboratory. Over the following 3 months, Pei Su unexpectedly delved into the realm of nuclear fusion knowledge. Upon grasping the complexities of helium-3 fusion, he successfully unraveled the problem using the knowledge he had acquired during this period. He aided Li Mutong, the chair of the academic committee at the Qian Shuesan Laboratory, in extending the operational time of 2 strong magnetic field devices to 6 minutes, while simultaneously elevating the temperature to an unprecedented 3 billion degrees Celsius. Li Mutong, overwhelmed with excitement, fainted, and upon regaining consciousness, rushed to the National Institute, only to be caught in traffic. Meanwhile, Pei Su returned to Lonka University, where Qin Lao had assigned a nuclear physics exam. Pei Su began the examination, effortlessly solving every question using the knowledge he had accumulated over the past 3 months. Remarkably, he also documented the implementation plan for controllable nuclear fusion on the exam paper. Thus, it appeared as though Pei Su had resolved both helium-3 fusion and controllable nuclear fusion issues within a few hours. In reality, he had invested 3 months in diligent study, amassing knowledge. Yet, Li Zhenyuan felt an overwhelming surge of disbelief. 3 months? When did the field of nuclear physics become so simplistic? Although he lacked a comprehensive understanding of nuclear fusion mechanics, he understood human capabilities. Take Li Mutong, for example. He, along with Wang Jun and Li Jing, were all preparatory academicians at Lonka University, and he was often compared to Wang Hongzhe from Harbin Institute of Technology, earning the title Wang Li. This indicates that Li Mutong from the Qian Shuesan Laboratory and Wang Hongzhe from Harbin Institute of Technology are nearly of the same caliber. However, Wang Hongzhe is already 60 years old, while Li Mutong is still quite young. Thus, if Li Mutong could not solve certain problems, how could Pei Su resolve them in just 3 months? Li Jingyuan's mind raced with questions. Did Pei Su possess an extraordinary intellect or an uncanny ability to astonish? Regardless, he was unconcerned with how Pei Su achieved these feats. The fact remained that he had done so, bringing joy to all. Excellent. Li Jingyuan's expression turned serious as he addressed Li Mutong. Contact Pei Su immediately and convey that I, Li Jingyuan from the National Institute, am offering him a condition. As long as he does not violate national principles, any request he makes will be fulfilled. Li Mutong felt a jolt of surprise, contemplating the implications of Li Jingyuan's words. Not violating national principles is easily understood. It essentially refers to adherence to the core values of the nation. In most cases, laws do not supersede national principles. Thus, Li Jingyuan's implication was clear. Even if Pei Su were to propose a request bordering on illegality, he would strive to fulfill it. Li Mutong hesitated to speculate on the intentions of such a formidable figure. At that moment, Li Zhenyuan turned to Qin Lao, a smile gracing his face. He approached and patted Qin Lao's shoulder, saying, "Old Qin, once controllable nuclear fusion technology emerges, we will be able to develop at an unprecedented pace. Our factories could account for as much as 90% of the global market. You know, where there are people, there is a world. Where there are none, the world loses its meaning. I trust you understand my perspective." Qin Lao remained silent for a moment before simply replying, "You cannot stop me." Li Jingyuan narrowed his eyes. That remains to be seen. Li Mutong felt another surge of realization wash over him. In 2009, Qin Lao published a paper discussing superhydrogen bombs and lunar nuclear fusion. Fast forward to December 2026, 17 years later, and Qin Lao had yet to realize his secondary nuclear deterrence plan. Clearly, he had encountered challenges both technologically and financially. However, with Pei Su resolving the technical issues, once controllable nuclear fusion is realized, Qin Lao could produce a superhydrogen bomb capable of triggering lunar nuclear fusion at a minimal cost, thereby achieving his secondary nuclear deterrence objectives. But right now, Li Zhenyuan was evidently confronting old Qin, whose status was quite elevated. The two appeared to be locked in a standoff. Li Mutong realized that he seemed to be entangled in a somewhat terrifying event. He promptly stated, "Leader, I will convey your intentions to Pei Su immediately." Upon finishing his words, he prepared to leave. Neither man attempted to stop him. Li Jingyuan even remarked, "Close the door." As Li Jingyuan shut the office door, he heard his own voice echoing within. "You see, the premise of human development is human existence. The prosperity of our nation is contrasted with those less fortunate countries. Old Qin, what you should be concerned about is not when this damned plan will be realized, but whether the nuclear fusion test at the end of March will succeed." Li Mutong felt a jolt of apprehension and quickly departed. No one knew what exactly transpired between old Qin and Li Zhenyuan that afternoon. However, when someone next entered the conference room, they discovered a shattered teacup on the floor and a puddle of broken tea leaves. It seemed that someone had been quite furious. January 1st, 2027. Snow fell gently. At Lonka University, apartment 437, Pei Su stood by the window, gazing at the falling snow, lost in thought. During the past few days since his return, He had been visiting various places to familiarize himself with the events of the past 3 months. Firstly, at the Beijing military region, Zhao Lingua had established a production line and commenced the gradual manufacturing of Black Mirror tanks. Meanwhile, Qi Tianyun from the Shanghai military region had also set up a production line, beginning mass production of the 4th-generation exoskeleton armor. Although there were still some challenges in the mass production of the 8th-generation machines, requiring more time to establish the production line, it was evident that Pei Su's efforts during this period had led to a gradual advancement of genuinely cutting-edge technology. At that moment, a shrill voice pierced through his thoughts. Xiao Hua, screaming, rushed over with a laptop. Pei Gu, look. Pei Su turned in surprise and took the laptop. On the screen was an English news report. Although Pei Su's English was quite proficient, he found it cumbersome to translate, so he simply clicked the translation button. Soon, the English report transformed into Chinese. Greetings. I am Luna, a reporter for Channel 9. 3 months ago, I traveled to Huaguo and witnessed a grand military competition at the Yinjiao factory cluster between the Beijing and Shanghai military regions. The display of technology left me astounded, intensifying my anxiety regarding the tense international situation. Chapter 102. Are the children of the post-05 era so reckless? The report, overall, lacked anything particularly extraordinary. Luna, the golden-haired, blue-eyed foreign reporter, spoke candidly, maintaining a neutral stance without aligning herself with any nation. However, a peculiar issue arose. In the photographs taken by Luna, one captured Pei Su. How did I end up in the shot? Pei Su furrowed his brow. When she published the report, was there no one to review it? He recalled the grand military competition in September, during which Luna had sought a better angle for her video and had come close to him. It was likely then that she had inadvertently captured him in her frame. Yet, Pei Su found it puzzling that his identity was classified at a military secret level. Had Luna not undergone a review process before publishing her report? As it turned out, Wang Qingyu approached him. Her father was Wang Chaoyan from the Military Science Approval Department, which provided her with broader information channels. I asked my father about the military news approval personnel at that time. They informed me that the individual responsible for approval was a recent graduate from a military journalism program who did not recognize your clearance level. So they assumed you were merely a bystander and approved it. Pei Su was taken aback. A bystander? This world truly operates like a makeshift troop. However, the news had already been published. If Luna were ordered to amend it, it would only serve to expose his identity to those foreigners. Contemplating this, Pei Su pondered. A single photograph shouldn't pose much of an issue, right? In North America, at the Central Intelligence Agency, a conference room displayed one of Luna's photographs. In the upper left corner were the diplomats area, in the upper right corner were Zhang Yutong and others, and at the center was the technological showcase of the military competition. Yet, in the inconspicuous lower right corner, a young man, smiling and full of enthusiasm, was captured in the frame. Hello, Mr. Joseph. Peter entered the conference room, and a group of golden-haired, blue-eyed youths stood up. Unfazed, Peter nodded at a middle-aged man in a tailored suit at the front. Mr. Peter, it has been a while since we last met. Joseph Chaoming looked at Peter and said, after our analysis, we have roughly determined that this young man seems rather unique. His position is second only to Zhang Yutong and the diplomats, occupying a distinctive second-row spot. We wish to know who he is and whether he is the child of a high-ranking executive or possesses some outstanding contributions. Peter was indeed the diplomat from the Yinjiao factory cluster. Upon seeing Pei Su's face, a flood of memories surged forth. He realized something and quickly replied, I do not know him well, but I distinctly remember that even Zhang Yutong and the academicians from Lonko Academy greeted him. I only know that his surname is Pei and that he is related to an academician from Lonko Academy. Beyond that, I am unaware of any details. Joseph furrowed his brow. Pei. Indeed, Pei. Peter delved into his memories. I was quite taken aback 3 months ago when Zhang Yutong invited me to the military competition. I witnessed 2 incredibly shocking technologies, one being the Black Mirror tank, which achieved an astonishing 5th-generation technical standard, and the other being the 4th-generation exoskeleton armor. The precise data eludes me, but based on performance, it is exceptionally remarkable. Joseph frowned. Mr. Peter, we have been closely monitoring all of this for 3 months now. When it comes to intelligence, we understand more than you do. We called you here solely to inquire about the identity of this young man. Peter sighed. I have shared all that I know with you, Mr. Joseph. You may reverse engineer the information I provided. For instance, his youth and seated position indicate that he is not merely there due to familial connections to an academician. Perhaps he is also one of the vital talents in Huaguo's military science sector. As he spoke, Peter smiled and added, I suspect his team may be associated with either the Black Mirror or the 4th-generation exoskeleton armor. Otherwise, what merit could a young face have to occupy such a prominent position? Joseph gasped. Is he truly that remarkable? I certainly do not wish to encounter a second Qin Shuessen. Who could have known? Peter bid farewell to Joseph and exited the conference room. A contemplative expression adorned Peter's face. In truth, he knew much more than he let on. For instance, he was aware that the young man's name was Pei Su. Yet he only disclosed that his surname was Pei to Joseph. He knew that Pei Su's uncle was Li Yong from Lonko Academy, but merely referred to him as an academician. Furthermore, he had observed Zhang Yutong, Li Yong, Wang Jun, and Li Jing greeting Pei Su, but he only mentioned Zhang Yutong. In reality, Peter harbored other intentions regarding such a talent. If one does not draw individuals to one's own camp, it would indeed be a regrettable loss. After all, my other identity is that of a clandestine investor in the military engineering laboratory at New York University. Should I succeed in bringing Pei Su to the university to work for me, Peter believes there would be great promise for the days ahead. I must devise a strategy to entice this young talent. Pei Su, have you contemplated what demands you will present regarding the commitments made by the National Academy? On June 2nd, through a phone call, Li Mutong inquired about Pei Su. However, within apartment 437, Pei Su found himself in a quandary. To be honest, I have not yet made up my mind. At present, what he values most has already been secured, namely, the military-grade library located underground at the Qian Shuesan laboratory. He has been granted a permanent permit to access various confidential documents there. As for the promise, he has not given it much thought. Li Mutong blinked and promptly suggested, "You are still quite young. How about I speak to the higher-ups and propose that Zhang Wan be betrothed to you?" He observed the rapport between Pei Su and Zhang Wan, sensing a profound connection akin to that of a shared understanding between mountains and flowing waters. Although the concept of arranged marriages has long since faded, facilitating a union, provided it does not contravene their wills, could still be possible. Pei Su paused for a few seconds. "I have made a decision." Li Mutong chuckled. "You agree?" "Yes, I have indeed decided." Pei Su replied with a calm demeanor. "I intend to collaborate with my classmates to construct a controllable nuclear fusion device, but we lack the necessary materials. And I plan to request them from the National Academy." Li Mutong was taken aback. "What? You wish to create a controllable nuclear fusion device on your own?" Such audacity from someone born in 2005. Chapter 103. 6 individuals, you wish to research terrestrial nuclear fusion. Li Mutong could hardly fathom that Pei Su would embark on research into controllable nuclear fusion, while Pei Su possesses the technical qualifications to delve into this realm. The reality is that his team consists of merely 6 individuals. To clarify, there are actually only 5 others: Wang Qingyu, Zhang Ming, Li Bei, Chen Kai, and a certain Xiaohua. 6 individuals. Can they truly engage in research on controllable nuclear fusion? Even if it were Pei Su himself stating it. Li Mutong found it utterly implausible. Wait, Li Mutong suddenly recognized an issue. Pei Su requires a strong magnetic field and materials. But who would supply these materials? Certainly not Li Zhengyuan, as he is merely an administrative officer and must be sourced from subordinate units. Now the question arises, whose strong magnetic field apparatus is the most abundant? Naturally, it would be the Qian Shuesan laboratory, which is currently engaged in helium-3 fusion research. Li Mutong opened his mouth to say something, but felt a headache coming on. In the end, had he unwittingly shot himself in the foot? Never mind. He shook his head and said, "Please send me the material list. I will report it and prepare everything for you. I'll deliver it personally afterward." "Thank you, old Li," Pei Su replied, sending over the material list. Simultaneously, Li Mutong received the list. 2 strong magnetic field devices? This is manageable. The cost of 1 strong magnetic field device is around $15 million, totaling $30 million for both. The higher-ups initially approved 4 strong magnetic field devices for us. And we only require 2, which suits Pei Su perfectly. 2 cyclotron devices as well. These are also not overly expensive. The 2 we recently acquired can be allocated to him, approximately totaling $30 million. 1,000 kilograms of low-purity graphene or 100 kilograms of high-purity graphene. This material is relatively inexpensive. However, as Li Mutong reached the final item, he paused. Upon closer examination, he noted 150 tons of boron-11. What is this? Li Mutong was taken aback. Boron-11 is also a substance that can be utilized in nuclear fusion. Unlike traditional nuclear fusion, it differs significantly from helium-3 fusion. Theoretically, the energy produced from boron-11 fusion is approximately 15 times that of helium-3 fusion, and helium-3 fusion is about 125 times the energy of conventional nuclear fusion. This implies that the energy generated from boron-11 fusion is extraordinarily significant. However, the challenge lies in the fact that boron-11 fusion necessitates temperatures reaching 3 billion degrees Celsius. When the project was initially proposed, Li Mutong had defined clear distinctions. Traditional nuclear fusion could be termed first-level fusion, helium-3 fusion as second-level fusion, and boron-11 fusion as the theoretically highest, third-level fusion. The reason they were tasked with helium-3 fusion was simply that boron-11 fusion is currently unfeasible due to the vast technological gaps involved. Yet now, it appears that this youthful Pei Su intends to attempt third-level fusion alongside his 5 classmates. This is simply unrealistic. A judgment formed in Li Mutong's mind. He immediately called Pei Su to inquire. "Hello? Pei Su, I have received your material list. I want to ask, are you planning to pursue boron-11 fusion?" His expression was grave as he spoke. On the other end of the line, Pei Su replied lazily, "Yes, but it will not be just me engaging in boron-11 fusion. It will be with my 5 classmates. You are being reckless, Li Mutong exclaimed. What you are proposing is extremely dangerous. Boron 11 fusion requires a temperature of 3 billion degrees Celsius to initiate a reaction. Indeed, you have resolved the most significant technical hurdle. But how do you plan to contain that temperature? Through strong magnetic fields? No, that is impossible. Our strong magnetic field apparatus is the best available. Yet you have acknowledged that even under optimal conditions, it can only operate for 30 minutes. To generate a substantial amount of energy through boron 11 fusion. 30 minutes is still far too brief. Furthermore, I cannot trust in your safety while you undertake this endeavor. Li Mutong's words elicited a smile from Pei Su. Oldly, do you remember? Back in that library, you once deceived me, claiming that you had resolved the high-temperature issue with a scheme involving 5 small, interconnected explosive devices. Li Mutong was taken aback. What do you mean? Pei Su's voice remained calm. You may deceive me, but I shall not deceive you. Thus, I can confidently affirm that I possess the capability and technology to achieve boron 11 fusion. Li Mutong gasped. What? Is that true? As I said, I will not deceive you. Pei Su replied softly. Prepare the materials, Oldly. He hung up the phone. Meanwhile, Li Mutong found himself staring blankly at the now terminated call. His mind replayed Pei Su's words. Could Pei Su have a solution for the containment apparatus? If that were the case, perhaps there exists a possibility for success. No. Li Mutong shook his head again. This is not realistic. He has only 5 individuals by his side. If he had 500 of the world's elites, he might genuinely succeed. But with only 5 individuals, success is improbable. With this thought, Li Mutong promptly dialed Pei Su's number once more. Hello? What is it now? Pei Su sounded somewhat exasperated. Oldly, why do you keep calling? Pei Su, I wish to convey this. Li Mutong pondered for a moment and remarked. Your circle is rather limited, consisting solely of students who are not the elite in this field. If you intend to accomplish everything relying on just 5 individuals, I must inform you that success is utterly unattainable. Instead, why not come to me? I have 300 distinguished researchers at your disposal. Perhaps you might consider this. Before he could finish his sentence, Pei Su's cheerful laughter resonated from the other end of the line. No need, Laoli. Perhaps you do not fully appreciate the capabilities of these 5 classmates. In terms of physicality, they may not match 100 individuals. However, in terms of talent and potential, each of them is worth 100. Laoli, please gather the materials on the list within 3 days. Thank you. With that, the call ended abruptly. Li Mutong set down the phone, once again engulfed in contemplation. Were Pei Su's 5 classmates truly exceptional? Out of curiosity, he decided to contact an old friend to investigate the backgrounds of these 5 individuals accompanying Pei Su. Chapter 104. 100 million for a tank. 100 million for a handgun. Hello, Lao Lin. Could you assist me in verifying the identities of a few individuals? Yes, I need information on 5 people. Chen Kai, Xiao Hua, Li Bei, Zhang Ming, and Wang Qingyu. Just those 5. What? They are all classified under military confidentiality? Are you certain? Not just confidential or secret, but military confidential? All right, I understand. He hung up, lost in thought. By heavens, Pei Su's 5 classmates possessed military confidential identities. Yet, he was puzzled. Were these individuals classified due to their connection with the Dragon Talent class, or was it their association with Pei Su that granted them such status? If it was the former, that was acceptable. However, if it was the latter, it was rather alarming. In apartment 437, Pei Su turned to see that Xiao Hua and the others had gathered. Pei Gu, what did you summon us for? Xiao Hua inquired, curiosity evident on his face. The others also expressed their intrigue, unsure of Pei Su's intentions. Pei Su smirked slightly. Old Qin hasn't assigned you any tasks lately, has he? Not at the moment. Chen Kai responded as he poured himself a cup of water with ease. But I believe Old Qin intends for us to handle a project related to nuclear physics or a specific aspect of it. I suspect it is highly likely connected to controllable nuclear fusion. However, since Old Qin hasn't issued any orders, I shall refrain from making assumptions. Pei Su contemplated. Why don't we take this opportunity to secure a side project? The group perked up at the mention of a side project. This was indeed an enticing proposition. Following their recent simultaneous undertakings with Zhao Linghua and Shi Tianyun, each of them had significantly increased their wealth at an astonishing rate. Each had earned close to the equivalent of a luxury apartment in Kyoto. The thrill of earning through their own efforts was addictive. Although their current funds were more than sufficient for their consumption habits, who would ever say no to more money? Thus, upon hearing Pei Su's intention to pursue another side project, everyone's enthusiasm surged. Pei Su grinned and whispered, just now, I requested some equipment for controllable nuclear fusion. I plan for us to attempt manufacturing military equipment related to controllable nuclear fusion in the coming time and then sell it. Sell to whom? Wang Qingyu queried. Without hesitation, Pei Su dialed Zhao Linghua's number. Hello? Pei Su, what an unexpected pleasure to hear from you. When will you come over for a visit? I recently acquired a box of excellent tea, though it may not compare to the Dahong Pao Mother Tree. It is still top-tier tea from our country. Pei Su chuckled. No need for that, Commander Zhao. I called to discuss a proposition with you. Would you be interested in a nuclear-powered tank? A moment of silence ensued on the other end. After a brief pause, Zhao Lingwa cautiously responded, Xiao Pei, are you planning something significant? Pei Su replied softly, that is not your concern. Are you interested in the nuclear-powered tank? Absolutely. How could I possibly refuse? Zhao Lingwa chuckled. If you can indeed produce a nuclear-powered tank, name your price, and I will buy it. 100 million per tank. Are you in? Pei Su's words caused Zhao Lingwa to ponder momentarily. 100 million for a single tank? Is it truly worth that much? Yet, quickly, Pei Su's enticing words echoed again. This would be the world's first nuclear-powered tank. And quite possibly the last. You understand, tanks are destined to be obsolete, but this is a man's romance. And whoever possesses it will have the ability to be remembered in history. Zhao Lingwa swallowed hard. He was reluctant to admit it, but he found himself intrigued. Indeed, Pei Su was right. Tanks would eventually become outdated as humanity's gaze shifted skyward. However, the notion of being the owner of the world's first and last nuclear-powered tank was undeniably alluring. After all, who would not wish to be remembered? After a moment of contemplation, Zhao Lingwa decisively responded, all right, 100 million, I'm in. Setting down the phone, Pei Su turned to the group. See? Quite simple. The others expressed admiration. Following that, Pei Su dialed another number. This time, it was none other than Qi Tianyan. The call connected swiftly. Hello? Xiao Pei. How thoughtful of you to call. I heard you enjoy tea. I have a special tea cake from the second mother tree of the Dahong Pao, exceptionally fragrant. Come and have some. Pei Su sighed internally. It seems everyone knows of my fondness for tea now. It must have been leaked by Li Yunchang. No need for that. Commander Qi, I called to discuss a matter with you. Pei Su spoke softly. Would you be interested in owning a nuclear-powered handgun? The kind that, with a single pull of the trigger, could obliterate half a mountain. This would be the world's first nuclear-powered handgun and quite possibly the last. As you know, handguns are bound to fade away eventually. However, they symbolize a man's romance, intertwined with elements of duels and warfare. Whoever possesses such a handgun will secure a place in history. Before Pei Su could finish, Qi Tianyan interjected. Just tell me the price. I want it. Without a moment's hesitation, 100 million each. Are you truly interested? Pei Su inquired softly. 100 million? Qi Tianyan did not hesitate. I want it. Whether for the sake of collecting or for the purpose of leaving a mark in history, a price of 100 million is quite bearable. Of course, the most crucial factor is that Qi Tianyan can afford this price. A portion of the military budget across various military districts is allocated for forward-looking collections, which can serve as investments for the future. Therefore, spending 100 million to acquire a firearm is not a violation of any regulations. Chapter 105. Becoming an academician? Nuclear-powered firearms. Nuclear-powered tanks. 200 million. Leaving a mark in history is something that appeals to individuals like Zhao Lingwa and Qi Tianyan, or rather, it is an irresistible allure for all Chinese. The mere possibility of leaving a historical legacy is tantalizing. Who could possibly resist? Pei Su looked at everyone. Once this is accomplished, each of us will receive over 30 million. Xiaohua glanced at Pei Su, reminding him, Brother Pei, you are mistaken. Based on the last distribution ratio, we will each receive around 20 million. Still, that is quite a sum. The eyes of the crowd began to gleam with green light. 20 million for each person? With 20 million, the possibilities are endless. Wang Qingyu felt a bit dizzy. The most expensive luxury item I've purchased is an Hermes bag, priced at 500,000 each. With this money, I could buy 40 of them in one go. 40 top-tier Hermes bags could fill an entire room. 20 million could easily secure a nice apartment in Kyoto. Li Bei muttered like a wolf. 20 million. Xiaohua felt a headache coming. How am I supposed to spend this money? Forget it. I might as well save it in the bank and earn interest. After the last side job, everyone visibly became wealthier. However, Xiaohua had little to spend on, so he deposited the money in the bank. That substantial deposit made him a VIP client, and during holidays, the bank manager would call to check in, occasionally sending rice, flour, and oil as gifts. Everyone had begun to contemplate what to do with their shares of the money. Pei Su looked at their reactions, nodding in satisfaction. Excellent. For the sake of this money, we should work even harder. Money has an undeniable driving force. On January 5, 2027, outside Lonka University, several large postal trucks were parked at the entrance, drawing the attention of some students. A middle-aged man wearing gold-rimmed glasses stood at the gate, waving at a young man approaching. Pei Su, over here. The person at the postal truck's entrance was Li Mutong. Here, I've gathered all the materials you requested. 2A8 model strong magnetic field devices, 2CC19 advanced cyclotrons, and all materials for 150 tons of boron ore. Pei Su blinked. Old Li, you're not being fair. Li Mutong chuckled. Boron 11 is contained in boron ore, and it's quite expensive. Boron 11 with 90 purity costs 260,000 per kilogram. For 150 tons of boron 11, that amounts to 39 billion. Don't blame me. Your request is unreasonable. Hence, I brought you the boron ore directly and even contacted a company for purification. They will produce boron 11 with 80 purity from the 150 tons of boron ore, although 20 will be boron 10. However, since you can handle temperatures of 30 billion degrees Celsius, Extracting the boron powder and purifying the isotopes should pose no challenge for you. As he spoke, Li Mutong winked. It's not that I don't want to provide you with boron, 11. It's just that your request is beyond the nation's reserves. You really are asking for a lion's share, 150 tons of boron, 11. In terms of pricing, no cyclotron, graphene, or strong magnetic field device can compare to the cost of 150 tons of 90 pure boron, 11. Li Mutong patted Pei Su's shoulder. Moreover, using boron powder with 80 boron, 11 and 20 boron, 10 for nuclear fusion is theoretically feasible. As long as the high-temperature issue is resolved, the energy produced will not be diminished. Pei Su shrugged. Whatever, it doesn't matter. They are essentially the same. The only difference between boron powder and high-purity boron, 11, is 10. Although boron, 11 is needed for high-end nuclear fusion, a little extra boron, 10 won't be a problem. I have my ways to resolve it. It's inconsequential. All right. I must take my leave. Just before Li Mutong departed, a sudden impulse surged within him. He couldn't help but turn back to Pei Su, exclaiming loudly, Pei Su, don't you have desires for other things? Pei Su turned in confusion. I don't quite understand what you mean. What I mean is, Li Mutong smiled. Have you ever considered the idea of becoming an academician? Pei Su was taken aback. Becoming an academician? Who wouldn't want to be an academician? An academician is the highest title in the academic world, something no one would refuse. Yet, it is incredibly challenging. Having an uncle like Li Yong, Pei Su had learned about the selection criteria for academicians. In truth, becoming an academician is a daunting task. Technical proficiency alone is insufficient. One must also possess qualifications. Qualifications serve as a standard for evaluation when your technical skills do not significantly surpass those of others. Imagine an examiner for a Mandarin certification facing two candidates, one who is more attractive and appears healthier, and another who is less appealing and seems less fit. If only one can pass, it will undoubtedly be the candidate with the more outstanding attributes. The same principle applies to academicians. Qualifications are not mandatory, but they become significant when your technical achievements are comparable to others. The previous year's reserve academicians included the present Li Mutong, Li Jing from the Kyoto Laboratory, and Wang Jun from the Military Industry Laboratory in Modu. Among them, Li Mutong is the youngest. Therefore, if he cannot produce sufficiently impressive results in a short time, Wang Jun and Li Jing will undoubtedly become academicians before him. However, Li Mutong will soon unveil his helium-3 nuclear fusion technology. At that point, the sheer impact of his technical achievements will overshadow any concerns regarding qualifications, allowing him to surpass both Wang Jun and Li Jing in becoming a full academician. But for Pei Su, did he wish to become an academician? He consulted his heart. The answer was a resounding yes. He yearned for it, beyond measure. Yet, could he truly become an academician? Pei Su hesitated, but soon, Li Mutong spoke up again. Your technical achievements are sufficient to make people overlook your age. And that alone is enough. Indeed, Pei Su realized his technical accomplishments had already met the standard for academician selection. Given the current situation, as long as he successfully implements the technology for controllable nuclear fusion using boron, 11, he could stake his claim in this year's academician selection. However, Pei Su felt a pang of curiosity. His identity was classified, a top-level military secret. Could someone whose existence is unknown even to industry insiders truly become an academician? Pei Su found himself doubting. He resolved to find the time to consult his uncle, Li Yong. Chapter 106. The Warmth of Family Affection. Just as Pei Su had seen off Li Mutong, Xiao rushed in, whispering, Old Qin wants us to come over. Really? Pei Su was taken aback. What a coincidence. In the office, Qin, impeccably dressed, addressed the group. Starting tomorrow, we will collaborate with the Lonka Institute to research controllable nuclear fusion devices. The unexpected announcement left everyone bewildered. Chen Kai exclaimed, Old Qin, is this really so urgent? Qin nodded, indeed. I've spent the past 3 months preparing you for this. 3 months ago, Li Jingyuan approached me, hoping I would lead this research. Suddenly, everything clicked for the group. It was no wonder that 3 months prior, Qin had begun imparting knowledge in nuclear physics. The first cohort of the Long Talent class had been selected based on exceptional intellect. Despite only 3 months of training, they had transformed into knowledgeable experts in nuclear physics. However, a silence fell over the group as they turned to Pei Su. He had just taken on 2 private projects, and now Old Qin required their involvement. This clash of schedules put Pei Su in a difficult position. If he managed it well, he could avoid offending both commanders while fulfilling Old Qin's task. This collaboration could also help them establish roots in the Lonka Institute, paving their way toward the prestigious title of academician. Conversely, a poor handling could alienate the commanders and leave Old Qin displeased, jeopardizing future opportunities for private work. Pei Su pondered for a moment, contemplating his words. Just then, Li Yunchang's voice echoed from outside. Pei Su, what's going on? Why are there over a dozen postal trucks parked outside? I asked who signed for them, and they said it was you. What's the deal? Li Yunchang stormed in, directly confronting Pei Su. Pei Su stammered. Those are some materials we'll need later. Materials? Li Yunchang scrutinized him. Where did you order them? What connection could warrant postal delivery? Qin cast a thoughtful glance at Pei Su, but remained silent. Pei Su was still trying to formulate an excuse when Qin spoke. You've taken on private work, haven't you? Pei Su broke into a cold sweat. Qin slowly rose. But instead of reprimanding him,